Hi there, this is David Ingleby for Dingo Servo Mounts, and today I want to talk about the drill jigs that we have for our main mounts, like the Micro 10 and the low profile. Now this is the Micro 10 version, and this is the low profile version, and I have here a plan printed off the Pico website for an N-gauge medium radius turnout, just as an indication. Now with N-gauge, I normally use these holes on the side of the tie bar, but you could also use a center hole, certainly if you're using something like 00, where the hole in the tie bar is in the center of the track. So now, what are these drill jigs for? Well, essentially it's to give you an indication of where the holes need to go to mount the servo mount. So let's have a look first of all at the low profile, because that's the simplest one. Now, the low profile is very useful, well, very simple in this matter, because the pin is pretty much in the dead center of the layout. So you take the drill jig and you place the center hole over the pin, and then you will see that the two holes at the side there are pretty much where the holes are for drilling the mounting holes. Now, the reason we do this is so that you can actually plan where you need to drill these holes before you actually put the mount in. Now, one thing I need to say right at the beginning is that sometimes when we bend these mounts, this section here gets slightly distorted. As you can see, in fact, on this one, if you look very closely, there's a slight distortion there. So it does mean that when I put the drill jig on here, and if I turn it over, you will see that the holes are slightly out compared with where they need to be. So you just need to keep that in mind, that this drill jig is a guide. It may not be 100% accurate, but you can always check on your mount before you actually mark it out. And if you need to move it 0.5 millimeter one way or the other, you can certainly do that. Right, so where do we go from here? We then take the drill jig and we place that hole there, the single hole, exactly over where the hole is going to be in the layout. So I've now marked that there. I can then take a pen and just mark 2 holes there, and you can do one of 2 things now. We can then drill on those marks there. We can drill holes through the baseboard from the top, say a 1 millimeter hole, which will give you an indication from underneath if you're mounting the turnout from underneath. Or if you want to mount the turnout from the top, you can drill a 3 millimeter hole there, and instead of using the fixing screws that are supplied, you can actually put a countersink machine screw into those holes, and then use a nut at the bottom to pull it up, and those will then pull flush with the baseboard. So that's what happens with the low profile. Then obviously when you mount the mount, that hole is going to come through there, and those 2 holes are going to be what you marked out. Now the Micro 10 is slightly different in that the Micro 10's pin is not central, and it can be one of 2 ways. It can be on this side, or if you bend that the wrong way, it might be on this side, so it's slightly out of center. So the Micro 10 drill jig has 2 holes instead of the 1, and you need to then put this over the pin, obviously with your mount centered, and then see which one lines up with the holes in the base, in the foot plate. So in this case it would be on that one, and so I need to know that one there is the one I need to then place over my position on the template or wherever the turnout is, and then from there I can then mark my 2 holes and that will give me the position for the 2 screws. Then once you have put the mount through the baseboard from underneath, those 2 holes will then be in the right place to put your 2 screws in. Again, remember that you can get distortion in the bend here, and you may need to move those holes 0.5 millimeter or so to be 100% accurate. But normally if you make a fairly decent sized slot in there, so like a 2 millimeter slot in there, there'll be sufficient space to take it up with the screws. So that's how we use the drill jigs for the Micro 10 and for the low profile. I hope that's a useful video in terms of mounting. Thank you for watching.